The King's Avatar, Chapter 1539 Beneath the Lava, audio source, wusharworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1539, Beneath the Lava. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Underground tunneling technique. The crowd gaped at the sight of Lord Grim emerging from the lava, resembling the Human Torch. Even though they knew this was only a game, to see someone drill underneath the lava and then emerge slashing out with their whole body on fire was still an awesome sight to see. Applaud him. We can't. This was Yishu. How could we applaud? Tyranny fans forcibly suppressed their impulses. The applause that was originally meant for Han Wenking when he interrupted shadow clone technique turned into background accompaniment for Yishu's retaliation in an instant. Tyranny fans were conflicted. They had to suppress it. Everyone gritted their teeth. It wasn't like they could boo such a spectacular play. That would be too heartless. Go Captain Han. Tyranny fans could only change the topic like this. They were determined not to show any appreciation to Yishu's performance. Even Han Wenking, who had been ready for a follow-up, did not expect Yishu's retaliation to be so swift and fierce. Underground tunneling technique, then a blade that went straight for the neck. Blood spurted out, and was instantly turned to steam by the scalding lava. Desert dust turned his body sharply and a fist flew out. Did Yishu want to follow up underground tunneling technique with a neckbind technique? Almost any somewhat experienced glory player would make this assessment, let alone Han Wenking, who had 10 years experience. Both Han Wenking's assessment and the follow-up strike were reflexive. It was precise and fast, and no ninja could possibly continue their combo after his interrupting strike. But there was no follow-up to begin with. Han Wenking's reaction was followed immediately by distress. Underground tunneling technique followed by neckbind technique was a common ninja tactic, but the bastard in front of him wasn't a ninja. Underground tunneling technique was already an additional skill bound to the myriad manifestation umbrella. He wouldn't waste another on neckbind technique just for this simple combo. Han Wenking's second assessment was correct. His reflexive strike had missed. Lord Grim did not use a neckbind technique. Then what is he going to do? His mind immediately filled with the hundreds of glory skills that existed. There was no way to make a judgment call. He'd have to go by his experience and instincts. Han Wenking did not wait for desert dust to stabilize his stance, and directly sent out a stomach kick. Desert dust raised his leg and then thrust directly backwards. Oh 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 oh. Clap 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 clap. Tyranny fans were quick to cheer and applaud. This kick was perfect. The target was behind him and out of sight, yet he still managed to find Lord Grim's chest so accurately. This was experience, this was awareness. But they saw a blur straight after. The Lord Grim that took a stomach kick was actually a shadow clone. Where was the real one? The real one was directly behind Desert Dust, and the blade that came from the myriad manifestations umbrella was viciously thrusted into Desert Dust's waist. From the viciousness and deadliness, you could instantly tell this was an assassin skill. Flickering stab. The skill only had a range of 1 unit away and didn't sound as impressive as teleporting stab, which could ambush from 3 units away. But true experts knew that the 1 unit distance of flickering stab was far more abrupt than the 3 unit distance of teleporting stab, and was much harder or even almost impossible to guard against. Once again, the Tyranny fans' cheering and applause became accompaniment for Lord Grim's attack. This time they couldn't even spare the time to feel peeved. Seeing their captain come out at a disadvantage again made him extremely agitated. They really wanted to just whip out their account cards, log into the arena and tear Lord Grim a new one personally. The blade slid out, bringing along with it beads of blood. But on this glowing red lava, the crimson blood was no longer striking to the eye, and it was visible for a second before it was evaporated into steam. Back combo. Yizhu would never miss an opportunity like this. Lord Grim continued to strike at Desert Dust's back. The lava gurgled and splashed. The two characters stood in the middle of the field of lava. It seemed unlikely that they would be able to escape. The lava's damage was not low, and any damage done by attacks on each other was just adding fuel to the fire. Anyone could see that this battle would not last for much longer. One combo was enough to defeat a character when combined with the lava damage. Victory would be decided within several seconds or even sooner. Han Wenking was currently at a disadvantage. Would he just lose like this? Not yet. Desert Dust suddenly twisted around. Double Tiger Palm. Yishu's experience was incomparably rich. He could tell which skill his opponent was about to use just from the way they squared their shoulders. He quickly had Lord Grim retreat a tiny step. Bam! Hit! Yishu was stunned. The skill was indeed Double Tiger Palm. But what hit Lord Grim was not a palm, but an elbow. Compared to the palm, attacking with the elbows would halve the effective attack range. But using the skill while twisting his body would increase the speed at which it was released. So there was even an effect like this. Even Yizhu was taken aback. He found that Han Wenking had made many changes, of which there was no shortage of research and reform of the striker's battle tactics. However, using Double Tiger Palm like so was never seen before. Yizhu wasn't sure if Han Wenking was never given the chance, or if under the current life-threatening situation, this creation was forged on the spot from 10 years of experience. One hit to snatch back the initiative. Following the twist of his body, Desert Dust launched his offensive. Ferocious Tiger Flurry. Directly following up with a high-level skill. Straightforward and valiant. Would Ferocious Tiger Flurry be enough to finish his opponent, combined with the damage over time from the lava? No one could make this call in this moment. First, the unfamiliarity with the map meant the exact damage of the lava was unknown. Secondly, Ferocious Tiger Flurry was similar to a Blade Master's formless Phantom Blade. They were skills that required continual input to keep unleashing attacks, and the damage would thus depend on both the attacker's execution and the defender's reaction. The skill had begun, but the details would decide whether the full damage would be dealt in the end. Right now, first punch, hit. Double Tiger Palm comboing into a Ferocious Tiger Flurry. The first punch came from quickly extending the bent elbow. The strike was as natural as it was fast. There was no way to dodge or parry it. Han Wenking did not decide to follow up with Ferocious Tiger Flurry just because he wanted to look courageous or heroic. After the second hit, a disturbance could be seen in the lava. Then, a fist followed and hit again. However, the system's combo count jumped twice. 3 hits, 4 hits. What? Many people were confused. How was it a 4-hit combo? The third hit came from under the lava. Li Yibo was rather quick to notice this time in the broadcast. He realized the third hit was a kick. But because Desert Dust's body was submerged in the lava, which was not see-through like water, most people missed it. 5 hits. The combo counter ticked up once again. But this time, there was a collective, regretful sigh from the stadium, because this time, Yishu finally reacted. Lord Grim raised a half-section of the Myriad Manifestation umbrella, and used an attack to parry the hit. Attacking to parry was to defend with an attack. The damage may or may not be fully mitigated, but regardless, it still counted as a hit for the attacker, and was different from directly avoiding the attack. Directly after, 6 hits. This attack was also parried, this time by the other half-section of the umbrella in Lord Grim's other hand. He's dual-wielding. Someone yelled. Dual-wielding was the counter to parrying. It could also be used very effectively to parry with attacks. In many situations, using a skill to parry while dual-wielding could successfully parry an attack which would otherwise have much higher priority than the skill that was used. However, Han Wenking's Desert Dust unleashed Ferocious Tiger Flurry. His attack speed increased explosively. It was absolutely impossible to dual-wield parry the whole skill. At this point, dual-wielding can only hope to keep up with the increased attack speed. Using only a single weapon would be able to parry one strike of Ferocious Tiger Flurry, and then leave the defender open to a second hit. Despite this, only using the weapon's dual-wield attribute in combination with normal attacks, how could he hope to completely stop the priority of a level 70 skill? Every attack looked like it was parried, but in the end the attack still pressed onto his body. The attack damage was only reduced by tiny amounts. Tiny amounts would still add up when the attacks came continuously. Right now, the major damage over time did not come from the attacks, but rather the lava's burn damage. Lord Grim had the advantage in health from the initiative he gained earlier. Now, Desert Dust was retaliating, attempting to catch up from the deficit. Yishu doing his best to parry was clearly a method to reduce as much of Desert Dust's damage output as possible. Everyone was fixated nervously on the two characters' health bars. Lord Grim had more health, but it was also decreasing faster. Desert Dust had less health, but was only taking lava damage right now. If this continued, who would win? Their health bars were both depleting, and the values were getting closer. The attacks from Ferocious Tiger Flurry were coming to an end. They're even. The health bars of both sides were the same right now. The stadium erupted in joy. Tyranny's fans were excitedly anticipating their victory. The health bars were even, but there was the last and strongest hit of Ferocious Tiger Flurry left. This final strike will put Desert Dust in the lead. Although the lead was tiny, the lava damage would decide who would win, because their health bars were so close to being depleted. As long as Desert Dust avoided taking damage after this final strike, victory would surely be his. Bang! The final punch of Ferocious Tiger Flurry sent Lord Grin flying backwards. The distance between the two characters widened, and close combat skills would not have an effect anymore. The lava was about to determine the winner. A flash of sword light was seen. Sword draw. Lord Grim, who was currently flying backwards, somehow managed to send out a sword draw. Desert Dust could not take another hit, and at this moment all the Tyranny fans' hearts jumped to their throats. Right at that moment, they saw Desert Dust roll towards the side. It's all over. Tyranny fans cried out in their minds. In this key moment, how did the captain make such a mistake? WooshOurWorldAudio.com. Sword draws / was horizontal. What good would a horizontal roll do? Do you want to hide under the lava? That wouldn't help either. Yishu was crafty. This sword draw had an angle to it and maximized its coverage. Even the lava had been slashed apart. A spark of hope lit up the fans' hearts. In the lava that was slashed apart by the sword draw, a molten rock was visible. Ching! The sword light landed on this rock. What about Desert Dust? After the roll, he ended up on the other side of the rock. Han Wenking knew well in advance that Yishu would rush to attack during the knockback and right after the last strike of Ferocious Tiger Flurry. He had an escape route in mind. Sheltering behind that rock would block any attack from the front. He won. Tyranny's fans were already cheering victoriously. The two health bars were sliding towards nothingness, and Lord Grim's was shorter, so it would reach 0 first. Even though securing a win by that tiny margin wasn't meaningful for the group arena, a win was a win. More so, this win was against Yishu, who had never lost an individual round yet. Was there any better feeling? But just at that moment, Desert Dust's life suddenly ticked down a chunk during the steady decrease due to the lava. Glory. When the large letters declared the end of the match, the last one standing was Lord Grimm. What? The stadium immediately exploded. How? How was this possible? Where did that burst of damage come from? Did lava somehow have burst damage? If so, why would it suddenly happen at this moment in particular? That would be too cruel of a prank, right? The Righteous Tyranny fans all stood up in sync, as if they wanted to charge onto the stage. What the hell was this? There had to be some kind of explanation. What the hell happened? What the hell happened? It wasn't just the Tyranny fans who were confused by this sudden burst of damage. The broadcast team, the referees, the pro players. Too many people were baffled. This kind of situation called for an instant replay. There had to be an explanation for this. Right now, it hadn't been found, so everything was being played back on the big screen. Even the holographic projection technology gave up the usual display of the winning character's model. There was no need to draw needless aggro from the crowd. The holograms were also replaying the last moments of the fight. The stadium was quiet as the grave. Everyone's eyes were fixated on the replay of that single moment. Once, twice, 3 times. The moment was very short, and could only be replayed like so. But where to look? Some people were watching Lord Grimm's actions. Some were watching Desert Dust. Some were watching the change in the flowing lava. At this moment, the system's final damage summary was pulled out. The system would not lie. It faithfully recorded every bit of the match from start to finish. These records would paint a picture and put everyone a step closer to the answer. Lord Grimm's last damage taken, Ferocious Tiger Flurry's last punch plus lava damage, Desert Dust's last damage taken, lava damage, and Waltzing Wave Sword, Spellblade skill, Waltzing Wave Sword. The silence in the stadium is still deafening. After the system's damage summary appeared, the replay could finally zoom into the area of interest. Under the lava, Waltzing Wave Sword moved soundlessly. Any visible trace of movement was completely obscured by the intense battle of the two characters, which churned the lava furiously. Waltzing Wave Sword actually happened before the sword draw. Just like Desert Dust's kick from under the lava during Ferocious Tiger Flurry, Waltzing Wave Sword was unleashed silently from under the lava. By the time the sword flickered, it was already the sword light from sword draw. The sword draw was blocked by the rock. But Waltzing Wave Sword's attack was not in a straight line. It traveled in an arc. It looped around the molten rock and managed to catch Desert Dust. Turns out it wasn't some burst damage from the lava. It did come from the player's own hand, Lord Grimm's attack. The silence was crushing. The long silence was finally broken violently. Yishu, you're fucking shameless. Yishu, go die in a hole. Kill him. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1540. No need for comfort. Audio source, wusharworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1540. No need for comfort. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Tyranny's fans could accept defeat. They had always prioritized the process over the end outcome. The 1v1 had been intense and high level. It was absolutely a rare scene, and everyone was more than satisfied with it. Although from Tyranny's perspective, this outcome was truly very annoying. A second earlier, they had thought that Yishu would lose. His 1v1 win streak would finally be broken. This sort of excitement would have reached the same levels as when Tyranny had toppled Excellent Tira's dynasty in the 4th season. But it was only for 1 second. Life was a roller coaster. This single second fully embodied the saying. Tyranny's fans could accept the defeat, but they could not accept the sudden drop from excitement to disappointment. The main culprit, Yi Shu. Tyranny's fans had always hated Yi Shu. Right now, how could they be in the mood to congratulate the winner? Han Wenking walked out from Tyranny's player booth. The angry clamor from Tyranny's fans suddenly quieted down. Their hearts hurt for their captain. Wouldn't he be the one who felt the sudden up and down the most? Wouldn't he be the one who felt the worst? The noise from the crowd became quieter and quieter. Everyone was looking at Han Wenking, who was walking down from the stage. His posture was as straight as ever. His footsteps were firm and powerful. As he walked, he waved his hands towards Tyranny's fans. Then, he waved towards everyone in the crowd. It was the same as he always did every time a match ended. Sure enough, their captain wouldn't fall from a defeat, even if it had been from such an unexpected and disgusting reversal. The crowd instantly erupted again. Instead of wasting their efforts cursing at Yi Shu, it'd be better to give their captain some applause. Han Wenking continued to wave his hands amidst the thunderous applause. And just like this, he walked back to Tyranny's seats. Everyone in Tyranny stood up and applauded their captain. Console him. No need. Their captain would never console a teammate who had lost. At the same time, he didn't need any comforting either when he lost. A defeat was nothing special. Tyranny had experienced it many times. Needing someone to comfort them was too shameful. If a man couldn't even accept defeat, how could anyone comfort him? I've calculated how much damage the lava does. I recommend that Lin Jingyan go up next. There wasn't a single word about the battle that had just transpired. Tyranny's vice-captain Zhang Xinji directly brought up their arrangements for their next battle. Okay, Han Wenking nodded his head. Okay, I'll go. Lin Jingyan nodded his head. He left Tyranny's bench and headed towards the stage. From the previous fight, we can see that Yi Shu has added heroic leap, poison needle, underground tunneling technique, flickering stab, and waltzing wave slash onto his weapon forms. When they finally talked about the battle that had just ended, it was from a review perspective. When the skill, waltzing wave slash, was mentioned, the cause for the sudden reversal, their expressions didn't change in the slightest. That's not even half, Han Wenking said regretfully. Yes, the tempo is just too fast, Zhang Xinji said. The fight between the two had happened mostly in the air. Once they fell into the lava dealt the majority of the damage came. The number of skills that the two could use effectively while in the lava was in fact quite limited. Lord Grimm could attach a total of 12 bonus skills onto his Myriad Manifestations umbrella, and he had only used 5 of those 12 thus far. That meant there were still 7 unknown skills. It would be an unknown factor in the team competition. The vice-captain and captain of Tyranny were mainly concerned about this unknown factor. Lin Jingyan probably wouldn't be able to find any more of those bonus skills because Lord Grimm's health was almost 0. He was probably at 1 or 2% health. The battle would be over in an instant. At the start of the second round, Yi Shu even announced in the public chat, "You've won. Ha, I'd be quite happy if you surrendered." Lin Jingyan replied, "I can't do that. You'd better hurry." Yi Shu replied. Lin Jingyan's dark thunder set out. Boos from the crowd soon followed. The boos obviously weren't for Lin Jingyan, but Yi Shu. Yi Shu's words were one thing, but his actions showed otherwise. His Lord Grimm was healing himself at the moment. Holy light flashed. When the match started, Lord Grimm remained where he was and immediately started healing. Although with only low-level skills and no healing buffs, Lord Grimm's healing capabilities could only be used as emergency saves. Trying to completely heal himself to full like this wasn't possible. The 1v1 map wasn't large. Even though Lin Jingyan was playing on this map for the first time, he had been watching the previous fight. And with everyone analyzing the map together, they had grasped bits and pieces of the map. His movements were firm, and he headed straight for the enemy spawn point. "Hey, you'd better not be healing," Lin Jingyan suddenly said in the chat. "You really are going to win. I've been seen through," Yi Zhu replied. Lin Jingyan was helpless. It looked like he couldn't take the easy way out. He had to be careful too. He couldn't let Yi Zhu take out too much of health. Soon, Lord Grim entered his line of sight. White light was flashing and flashing. Lord Grim had been healing the entire time. No. Yi Zhu soon saw the approaching Dark Thunder as well, and immediately typed out into the chat, "Can't you wait a bit longer?" Lin Jingyan ignored him. They were about to start fighting. He need to concentrate. He couldn't give Yi Zhu any opportunities. Chat. WuxRWorldAudio.com. It was now time for him to ignore everything. In terms of range, Lord Grim had a long range than Dark Thunder, so Dark Thunder had to enter Lord Grim's range first. Lin Jingyan immediately became even more cautious. Dark Thunder started to slow down as he carefully observed Lord Grim's movements and the terrain around him. "I guess that's it," Yi Zhu sighed. During this time, he had been able to heal 6% of his health back. It was now a 7% health Lord Grim against a 100% health Dark Thunder. It was very possible for one touch into death in this map due to the lava. Lin Jingyan subconsciously had his Dark Thunder stay farther away from the lava. If he wasn't careful and was knocked into the lava, it would be devastating for him. As he grew nearer, Lord Grim still didn't act. Dark Thunder only need 3 more steps for Lord Grim to enter his attack range, when finally, Lord Grim raised his umbrella in front of him. Lin Jingyan immediately moved his mouse back and forth, so Dark Thunder would move erratically. He wouldn't be moving in a straight line nor in a predictable left and right zigzag. He wasn't going to make it easy for Yi Zhu to hit him. Bang bang. 2 gunshots. Yi Zhu had Lord Grim attack. The Myriad Manifestations umbrella's gun form was a rifle, which could fire 2 times in a row. The damage from normal attacks posed no threat, but if he could dodge them, why not dodge them? After dodging the 2 bullets, he looked at Lord Grim again. Lord Grim wasn't facing him, but rather, to the side. He wants to play dirty. Lin Jingyan had been Fang Rui's partner for many years. He was very acute towards this sort of playing, turning to the side to prevent the enemy from seeing everything. Fang Rui was an expert at it. He hid his character's hands, so the opponent wouldn't be able to figure out what skill he was planning on using. The hand movements were crucial, so what skill did he plan on using? Shadow clone technique. That was Lin Jingyan's first thought. Ninjas had been the first to come up with this technique of hiding their hands. Who made it so most of their skills required hand seals. Shadow clone technique required hand seals, and Yi Zhu often used it. Lin Jingyan's thought process was very logical. He immediately had his character roll to the side, while swinging his claw towards the side. 1 Night 8 Desolates. This was the name of Dark Thunder's silver weapon. He had 4 claws on each hand. The color and luster were rather dull and didn't give off any light. These claws swung in a semicircle motion. "Old Lin, you overthought it." Yi Zhu messaged. 1 Night 8 Desolates missed. After Dark Thunder rolled, he adjusted his view, and now he was facing Lord Grim directly. There weren't any hand movements, just the muzzle of a gun. Boom Boom Boom. Anti-tank missiles. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1541. You've won. Audio source. WooshaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1541. You've won. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Role, another role. Lin Jingyan's reacted surprisingly fast towards Lord Grimm's point-blank anti-tank missiles. Dark thunder rolled again, leaving the explosions behind him. This time, Yi Shu had encountered an opponent in dirtiness. Lin Jingyan's style in itself couldn't be considered dirty, but he was extremely adept at dealing with people who played dirty. How could he not? His practice partner had been Fang Rui for many years. Seeing Dark Thunder dodge the anti-tank missile, the Tyranny players watching on the sidelines felt deeply moved. It's up to him, Zhang Jiale was confident. Lin Jingyan was placed second in the group arena, and part of the reason for his placement was to deal with that 1% health on Lord Grimm. Yes, it was just 1%, but because it was Yi Shu, Tyranny couldn't underestimate him. As old rivals of Yi Shu, no one thought that Yi Shu would just give up because he only had 1% of his health left. They were certain that he would use that 1% to annoy them as much as possible. Sure enough, he started healing as soon as he spawned. Then, he even followed by saying, "You've won." Yes, everyone had no doubt that Tyranny would win this fight, but at what cost? As a result, they chose Lin Jingyan to play. With so little health left, Yi Shu would certainly play dirty, and Lin Jingyan was the person with the most experience against it. If it had been anyone else in Tyranny, that little trick of Yi Shu's might have really hit. But it was different with Lin Jingyan. He had dodged the anti-tank missiles with ease. When he got up, he launched himself towards Lord Grimm with a powerful knee strike. The counterattack had been fast, but with the current distance between the two characters, the timing of this powerful knee strike wasn't good and it wouldn't pose much of a threat. This sort of rushed attack was quite good at restricting the dirty playstyle though. Playing dirty required observation, thinking, and setup. By raising the tempo, it made it harder for the opponent to make these calculations. Although against those who were dirty to their bones, then their instinctive reactions would be dirty too. Just this sort of fast tempo wouldn't be enough to suppress someone like that. But Lin Jingyan had a lot of practice against this sort of dirtiness. The powerful knee strike wasn't everything. As he leaped towards Lord Grimm, Dark Thunder suddenly opened his hands and threw sand. The purpose of the powerful knee strike was simply as a movement skill. Sand toss was the main focus. The sand toss transformed from a point attack to an AoE attack. Just moving to dodge the powerful knee strike wouldn't enough now, and it was too late to make any further movements. Hooah! The sand crashed into Lord Grimm. The grains of sand made crisp sounds as they hit. The only thing Yi Shu could do was turn Lord Grimm's head around to avoid the blind. But Dark Thunder had already landed on the ground. He took step in the opposite direction of Lord Grimm's head turn. It was a subtle detail, but sometimes it was this sort of detail that was fatal. Dark Thunder threw out a punch. 4 sharp claws slashed upwards, but to everyone's surprise, Lord Grimm's 2 hands had also extended out. He was looking in a different direction, but his hands were moving in this direction. Fling. Seeing these hand movements, Lin Jingyan immediately deduced what skill his opponent was using. Perhaps one of their attacks might reach the other first, but either way, the fling would go into effect. As for the fling direction, it was obviously towards the lava. Getting thrown into the lava by a 7% health Lord Grimm was something that Lin Jingyan could not accept. Jump back. It'd be better if Lin Jingyan didn't go through with his punch, instead of giving the opportunity away to Yi Shu. Dark Thunder jumped back to dodge the grab. Then, he stepped forward again to return the favor. Fling. A fling as well. It was a fling against a fling, but one was starting up while the other was finishing up. After dodging the opponent's fling, he would use his own fling as a counter-attack. Lin Jingyan deserved to be someone who had played the game professionally for many years. Even though fling was a grappler skill, it was a skill no fighter class would ever give up. Unfortunately, Lin Jingyan had encountered an unspecialized, a class that was unprecedented in the competitive scene. What's more, in the hands of that unspecialized was a miraculous weapon that had never been seen before. Lord Grimm was retracting his hands. It was the ending animation for fling, but the umbrella that had split into two halves transformed back into one piece. The part that was extending outwards made its way past Dark Thunder's hands and into his body. Myriad Manifestations Umbrella, Spear Form. Battle Mage Skill, Circle Swing. Dark Thunder was thrown into the sky. The only thing that Lin Jingyan could be glad about was that the circle swing could not throw him directly into the lava. However, skills may be fixed, but people were alive. Lin Jingyan suddenly realized that Dark Thunder could move while in the air. Grab skills locked the opponent's movements while active. Right now, if his character could move, then it meant that the skill had ended. By cancelling Circle Swing midway through, a majority of the damage dealt by the skill was lost. But for Lin Jingyan's Dark Thunder, if he continued following along his current path, he would be thrown into the far more terrifying lava. Punch, kick. Without the skill lock, Dark Thunder could do as he pleased in the air. But unfortunately, brawlers didn't have any movement skills while in the air. By punching and kicking, he could move his character's trajectory slightly. However, the experienced Lin Jingyan already knew that it wasn't enough. Eagle Stamp. Lin Jingyan thought of this move. He didn't even need to put the skill on his weapon. All he needed was 20 skill points to learn it. If he had it, he could have turned this situation around. But he didn't have the luxury of these 20 skill points. His Dark Thunder didn't have Eagle Stamp. He could only have Dark Thunder throw out a Molotov cocktail. He couldn't just do nothing. Unfortunately, this sort of venting didn't pose any threat. Yishu's Lord Grimm easily dodged it. He raised his umbrella and fired 2 times. Delivery gun. He wanted to use delivery gun to send him even farther away. Lin Jingyan continued to have Dark Thunder punch and kick. The delivery gun technique required the player to hit the target's center of mass to control the opponent's movements. Only sharpshooters with their rapid-firing capabilities could occasionally grasp a moving target's center of mass. The Myriad Manifestations Umbrella's gun form was a rifle. It could only fire twice before needing to reload and could not display the full effectiveness of delivery gun. But then, Lord Grimm's umbrella suddenly turned towards the sky. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, a burst of gunfire. Lin Jingyan wanted to cough blood. That shameless bastard was using Gatling gun to execute a delivery gun. The firing speed of Gatling gun was fast to the point that it put the user's aim to the test. How could Lin Jingyan have any doubts about Yishu's skill with it, though? The technique had been invented by him. Unspecialized, unspecialized. They were just ridiculously annoying. Blood blossomed from Dark Thunder as he flew in an arc. The lava spread outwards to embrace him, and Dark Thunder cordially accepted it. Then, the lava began to burn away his health. Lin Jingyan turned around. WuxRWorldAudio.com. On the shore, Yishu was cordially waiting for him, ready to welcome him back. Lin Jingyan wanted to cry. It would not be a good idea to challenge him directly. It'd be better to find a place farther away, so Yishu's Lord Grimm wouldn't be able to block his escape. Dark Thunder climbed out of the lava. Flames were still burning, dealing the last bits of damage. The crowd looked at the 48% health on Dark Thunder and were quiet. Then, they saw Yishu's Lord Grim run towards him, while typing out, "Old Lin, how could you be so careless, Old Lin? The lava's pretty strong." No. The lava was indeed strong. He didn't even have half his health anymore. How could Lin Jingyan reply back to it? "You've won," was Lin Jingyan's reply. It was what Yishu had said at the start of the match. But at this moment, it was the truth. For this fight to have turned out this way, it was a huge victory for Yishu. "You're still alive. How could I say I'd won?" Yishu even added a smiley face. "I give you an inch, and you want a mile," Lin Jingyan replied. Dark Thunder rushed forward to meet Lord Grim. Technically speaking, Lin Jingyan had won. But even the generous Tyranny fans found it hard to applaud for this sort of victory. 41%. This was Dark Thunder's remaining health. To get rid of that 7% from Lord Grim. Or perhaps, it would be better to say 1%. Tyranny had sacrificed far more than they would have liked. Yishu walked out from the player booth. Normally, there would definitely be boos being thrown at him. But right now, the Tyranny fans didn't know if that was the right move, so they kept silent. This match. How do we describe it? Pan Lin and Lin Yibo were having trouble finding words to summarize this fight. You couldn't really say Lin Jingyan's performance was bad. It was because of the map that the single slip-up had cost him greatly. Maybe it's better to say that Yishu found the key point to this map first. Li Yibo said, "Fuck off." The vast majority of the people who heard his words cursed at him. You'd have to be blind not to see what the key point to this map. Found it first. More like Yishu was the first to successfully take advantage of it. End chapter.